Ayubowan. My name is Machiko Raheem and I am 15 years old. I was born in Sri Lanka to Sri Lankan parents in the busy city of Colombo. I am a Sri Lankan Muslim and have lived in Singapore for the majority of my life. Though Islam is my religion, my parents have never forced me to follow it, and so therefore neither my family nor I are strict Muslims. I have always been brought up in a multicultural world. In Singapore, I was in an international school, which held over 60 different nationalities. My experience of diaspora started when I was a tiny 4-year-old. All I remember was being whisked away from my home and put into a strange new country called Singapore. I remember leaving the huge country where it took ages to get anywhere to a country where you could drive from one end to the other in just about 45 minutes. Moving from Sri Lanka allowed me to learn about cultures from all over the world, for it seemed like there was someone from every corner of the universe there. Living in Singapore for the majority of my life made the culture part of my own. Singapore allowed me to get to know people from so many different countries. Everyone was so proud of their culture and celebrated it, which allowed me to learn about them and turn a deaf ear on the usual stereotypes that I had heard about. Then after a long while in Singapore, my family decided to move to another corner of the world, to a country called New Zealand. I had to leave everything I had gotten used to and move to a whole new country. I wasn't sure if I would fit in with the culture there. Unlike Singapore, which is a cosmopolitan country, New Zealand does not have the same amount of cultural diversity. I was right, it was different, but different in a good way. Being in New Zealand changed me a lot. I experienced diaspora through things such as what I thought about life and how open-minded I became. The thing that challenged me the most when I moved to New Zealand was the difference in our cultural views. Things that are usually frowned upon in my culture was something that was usual in the culture and lifestyle in New Zealand. Things like house parties, alcohol, and boyfriends at young ages was relatively normal there. Another thing that really challenged me was the amount of self-confidence and independence the kids in New Zealand had, and I learnt from them. For example, I spent a month alone in the middle of nowhere with 6 other girls. We did our own cooking, cleaning, and whatever else there was to do. It was a month during which I learned how to be self-confident and independent in a good way. They are traits that seem to be an important part of the culture in New Zealand, and the culture in New Zealand became a new piece of my personal culture puzzle. I learned that it was important to be unique, and New Zealand taught me that. When I was finally settling into the lifestyle in New Zealand, my parents decided it was a good idea to come to Doha on a holiday. I was quite excited because it was my first time to a country in the Middle East. For the time I was here, I experienced a culture that wasn't something I had experienced before, and I was intimidated by it. I wasn't sure how to act in a country that followed strict Islamic principles and values. I was afraid and wondered, would I offend anyone? I thought the people here were quite frank, and because I wasn't used to it, I found it a little bit rude. However, after moving to Qatar, I realized that being in the country allowed me to really understand the culture that I live in. Though I haven't been here for too long, my initial opinions about Qatar no longer apply. I now understand the culture and people more than I did before. For me, what originally came across as frankness now sounds normal instead of rude. The culture that I am now surrounded by is interesting, not intimidating. Experiencing what I have as I moved around the world has made me the person I am today in Qatar. I am more understanding, confident, independent, and more open-minded about other cultures. My experiences with diaspora have made me become a person that has both fun around and interest in other people's cultures. I feel like I have become a better person through being surrounded by other people and learning about the way they think about life. Through my experiences, I have adopted cultures from all over the world. But no matter where I am, I will always be Sri Lankan.